Okay, we're all set, Justice.
Okay, we'll call to order the Franklin County IDA meeting. Thank you all for joining in. I'll have Maria do the roll call.
Okay, Sherry Boye,
Present.
Michael Doran is absent. James Ellis,
Here.
Stephen Ehrman,
Here.
Madeline Fleury,
Here.
Justice Martin,
Present.
Archie McKee is also absent at this time.
Okay, very well. I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda for today's meeting.
So moved, Steve.
Second, Sherry.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Justice, if I can, I should also indicate the others who are present. I forgot to do that, sorry.
Yes,
There's
thank
myself,
you.
Maria Bourgeois, there's Jeremy Evans, CEO, Russ Kenyon, Economic Development Director, Jacob Wright from Tupper Lake Crossroads, Skyward Hospitality, Pam Halloran and Mike Crowley from Crowley and Halloran, our auditors, Dan McClelland from Tupper Lake Free Press, and Barton Pitts from Next Amp Solar.
Okay, very good. All right, well, we'll open it up for any public comments. Don't think we have any. So we have our auditors here with us. I think it would be good if we could allow them to give, if it's okay with the board, allow them to give their report. And then we can take whatever needed action is necessary and at the correct time. Will that work out okay for everybody? So if you
That's what
want to
Done.
go ahead and give the report on the IDA audit, and then we can go from there
I
accordingly.
can just interject once more. I noticed Patty Littlefield has joined the meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Hi, Patty. Thank you. Okay.
Hi,
go ahead.
Maria.
Okay,
Right,
Pam, I think
so-
you're up. Pam Michael.
Okay, thank you. We'll cover the IDA first. So in the IDA, it's starts out with the independent auditor's report. And that report is on the financial statements. It talks about management's responsibility for the financials, and management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation. It talks about the auditor's responsibilities and the standards that we use. So we use standards that are generally accepted in the US and standards under government auditing standards, because the IDA is a special purpose government. It's a public authority and it falls under that. So and we talk about obtaining reasonable assurance whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. We talk about performing procedures. We have to have procedures performed and obtain enough audit evidence about the amounts and the disclosures in order to give an opinion that we believe that it's sufficient and appropriate, and we give an unmodified opinion that the financial statements present fairly, and you do have an unmodified opinion, they do present fairly. Then there's another area that talks about required supplementary information. So you have, as a government, you have a section in the beginning, that's the management's discussion and analysis, and that is prepared by management. And then there's some schedules that are required because you are in the ERS system. So that there's two schedules at the end that are required. So we talk about the procedures we perform on those. We do perform limited procedures, but we don't express an opinion on the supplementary information. And then because you fall under government auditing standards, you have what's called a yellow book report. So in the yellow book, we look at internal controls over financial reporting, and we also look at your compliance with any grants, laws, contracts, and regulations. So on pages 3 to 10 in the financials, it's the management's discussion and analysis section. So again, prepared by management. It has the financial highlights and explains the IDA, gives a little bit of the history. It gives the upcoming highlights and financial highlights during the year. It also gives you comparative financial information because the financial statements are presented in a 1 year. So this gives you what our swings were, and gives you a condensed statement of net position and breaks down our building and equipment. And then there's kind of factors bearing in the future. So our priorities for 2021. So it's always good to read that and get a flavor of what's happened during the year in a narrative format. On page 11, it starts the statement of net position. Our current assets are 907,000, and that was down $1,020,000 from last year was $1,020,000, so it was down 113,000. Our cash and equivalents is 869,000, and that was up about 188,000. Our fee receivable is down 307,000. So last year we had what our receivable from the Jericho Wind Farm was coming in. That was 312,000. So that payment was received. That final fifth payment was received during the year. There's a receivable portion from the LDC and the CDC for the share of insurance. We have prepaid expenses. Those were 31,000, and they were up about 4,000 from the prior year. So very comparable. Our net building and equipment is down 184,000. So during the year, you sold the gleaning warehouse and the land, and that was on the books for about 278,000 with accumulated depreciation of 132,000. So there was a loss realized of about 114,000 on that transaction. There was also the sale of the garage at the Bombay factory or Bombay warehouse, which was never on the fixed asset schedule when it was purchased. So that gain actually offset our loss. So the proceeds of that was 21,000. It offset our loss of 114,000. So in the financial statements, the loss is 90,000. 90,910. We have no long-term fee receivable. The 5 years we had received the fifth payment in 2020. Our total assets were down about 297,000. We're at 1.58 million. Last year they were 1.87 million. We have an area called Deferred Outflows, and that's related to your pension. And those were at 130,000. They were up 69,000 from the prior year. In our liabilities, those are 182,000, and they're up from last year by 122,000. Our pension liability was 152,000, and that was actually up 115,000 from last year's 37,000. So that was a pretty significant increase on that, and there's reasons behind that.
Sure, I can explain some of the reasons behind that. So normally the ERS pension system it's been running close to 90% funded. It dropped, the funding status dropped in this year. I think basically because of market conditions. So the market was down at the time that the ERS did their actuarial study. So that of course causes the liability to be greater. That's left to be broken up into all the different components, governments that are a member of that system. So that was the reason. So that's going to swing because of those reasons from time to time. Also, they changed the discount rate by about 2%. So that there is a note in the financial statements that talks about the sensitivity of a change of 1% either way. So this is not a full 1%, it was just 0.02%. So, but you can see how sensitive that is when there is a change in a discount. So we would expect if market conditions go up better on the stock market, they have been. So the assets that are in the ERS system would probably be much higher, and that liability might diminish next year. That's up to fate. We'll see what happens at March 31st. That's when they do the measurement.
Very good, thank you. So our pension liability, we just went over that. We also have deferred inflows related to that, and those are $10,000, and it was down $9,600 from the prior year. So the deferred outflows on the assets side of things and the deferred inflows are related to the pension. Our net position is $1,516,000, and that was down $341,000 from last year's $1,857,000. Then we get into the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. So this is a period statement. We're looking at what happened during the year. Our charges for services are $3,250, and that was down $118,000. So last year we had fees from the OYA State Route LLC, which was closed in December of 19. So that was $115,000. Sorry if I said that wrong. I meant to look that up to see what it meant.
You say it right. You're good.
Very good. We had total revenues of $125,000, and that's primarily the grant from the LDC and the amount of $100,000. Last year, there was a grant of $30,000. Other application fees and rental income made up the rest of the revenue, and our rental income was down around $4,484, but you did lose some rental income from the gleaning warehouse, I believe. Our total costs were $378,000, which was up from 2019 by $24,000. So small increase there. And that our salaries were up about $4,000, and the majority of the increase was in benefits, $34,000, which includes health insurance and pension. So that adjustment for our pension really fell into that, and that's why that was up. Our supplies and materials were down about $2,000, and our other operating expenses, which includes insurance and other things like that, was down around $12,000. And that is it for the statement of activities. We go on to the statement of cash flows, and we did have an increase of cash, that shows what's actually going on with cash. So it's a good statement to look at, but we don't spend a whole lot of time on it. There's an increase of cash of $187,000. Last year it was $185,000 increase. So that is it for the financial statements. And then we get into the notes. So note 1 has our significant accounting policies. If we had any new standards that were adopted, we would let you know there. There were standards that were delayed a year, but nothing that impacted, so you would be implementing them this year, but there was nothing that impacted you. So you had to, there were no standards that we had to adopt this year. Page 15 of those breaks out our property, plant, and equipment, our capitalization thresholds for those in our lives. The cash and equivalents is in there. Any pilots, so we were on the last of that pilot with the Jericho Wind Farm. I believe you may have one coming up for next year, so that will be in next year's. We go on to page 18, has our the breakdown of the fixed assets. So you can see that we disposed of the, there was land with a gleaning warehouse as well as the building. So that was about $278,000 that we took off the books, along with the accumulated depreciation of $132,000. So overall, that was $151,000 that came off. Then we get into note 4, which is on the retirement plan. So this was what Mike just covered. The really good page here is, this one goes on for a lot. It's on page 22. So that shows the sensitivity. So our discount rate was 6.8%, and we had $152,000 liability. If it went to 5.8%, it would be $279,000. If it increased to 7.8%, it would only be $35,000. So much more comparable to what we had last year, was that $35,000 range. And it also shows you the whole pension liability with the system. And it was 86.39% funded, which in the past, it's been above 90%. So that was a big drop there. We have notes on any commitments and contingencies. We still have that Brownville note that we have had for a lot of years. The operating lease. So you did your cleaning and maintenance was actually up $100 a month from the prior year. So you had just negotiated that lease recently. We also have subsequent events. So we look at anything that happened after year end to the time the financial statements are available to be issued, and that means significantly done. And we let you know if there was anything that needed to be draw your attention to. So there wasn't anything there. We are still in the midst of COVID, so we do have that note in there that we're in the midst of a pandemic and everything's unknown. So, and then there's the two schedules that I mentioned before. We have the schedule of the agency's proportionate share of the net pension liability, and that's going to be a 10-year schedule. It started in 15 when we adopted it, so we now have we have 6 years worth, so it'll go up to the 10 years. And then there's the schedule of employer contributions. So we had 21,134 of required contributions in 2020. They were 19,809 in 19. So that also gives you that. And then we get into that yellow book opinion. So here we're looking at our internal controls over financial reporting. And we look at any deficiencies in internal controls, whether they're significant, which mean they would merit your attention, but they're not to the level of causing a material misstatement. And then we look at material weaknesses. So that would be something that had we not found, because it wasn't found by individuals in the normal course of performing their functions. So that would be a material weakness. And we didn't have anything in the IDA for that, so that was clean. And also we look at compliance with grants, laws, regulations, and contracts. And again, no issues were noted there. So that is it for the IDA. Any questions?
Great. Any questions?
Okay, we have also the CDC, which is also a government. So we have the same section on the MD&A.
Pam,
Yes, I'm sorry.
just a second. So I think what we're going to do here is Justice, you want to recess the IDA meeting for a minute, right? And then open the CDC meeting, just so, and then so if you give us a second, Pam, just to do that.
Sorry, I forgot.
Were there any questions concerning the IDA audit from any of the board members?
No.
Okay. All right. So we will entertain a motion to recess the IDA meeting.
So move. Jim Ellis. Steve seconds.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And then, so we will call to order the Franklin County CDC meeting. The roll call is as stated before. We'll entertain a motion to, I think we'll just go right through the meeting and get to the audit, which is basically the only action. So we'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda for the CDC meeting.
So moved. Nope. Jim Ellis moves. Steve seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from January 12th, 2021.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Steve will move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, anything to note on the treasurer's report?
We we got 21 cents of income since January. Wow.
Ooh,
There we go.
Right. I entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I make a motion, we approve the treasurer's report.
Okay.
I'll
Second.
second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that leads us to the audit. Go ahead, Pam, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I guess
Mike's gonna take that one, and honestly,
Okay.
all of the roll call is gonna take longer than going through this one, I think.
I could stretch it out.
Okay.
Pam allows me the easy one to do. So the independent auditor's report is on page 1. It's essentially the same kind of framework as the other one. It goes through the different stages. What's being reported is the first bold section. Management's responsibility is the next. Auditor's responsibility, we talk about that and the standards that we use when we do an audit and the procedures that we do. And then on page 2 is the actual opinion, again, an unmodified opinion for the Franklin County CDC. They talk about other matters with this required supplementary information, MD&A that's required. And then there's the yellow book opinion that's included here, and what that is, that's letting a reader know that that's included as well. So that kind of covers those 2 pages. The MD&A is pages 3 through 5 or 6. So again, same kind of, this is prepared by management, same as the IDA. It's a little shorter because not so much took place. Instead of financial highlights, there's kind of historical highlights there of what's taken place and what the CDC has done over the years. So that's always a benefit to go there and take a look. But the first report is the statement of net position. We have about $12,618 in cash. We have a payable of $925,000. And the difference between the assets and liabilities is your net position, which is unrestricted at $11,693. And then
Just a
page,
correction, Mike, I don't think the payable is 925,000.
I said, did I say 925,000?
It's way in the ball.
$925.
Dollars.
If it is, we'll really need that 21 cents.
I'm sorry if I added a couple zeros to that. And then the next statement is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. As Jeremy pointed out, interest income is a whopping $1. So you had 21 cents there. So that kind of makes sense. I think last year we had $2 of interest income.
It rounded up. This time it rounded down.
But the expenses are fairly the same, $925 for insurance, and professional fees are $1,500. So they're similar to the year before. So that we started the year with a net position of $14,117. Our expenses exceeded our income by $2,424. So we ended up with a net position of $11,693. The statement of cash flows is fairly easy. We had payments out of $1,500, $1 of interest income, and that our cash went down $1,499. So we ended up with $12,618 in cash. The notes begin on page 10 and go through page 13. There's no real change in the notes, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. We do have that COVID note, which is different from the year before. So we do talk about the pandemic and the uncertainty that that causes. But other than that, nothing else has changed. On page 14 and 15 is the Yellow Book report. Again, same as Pam went over. We look at the internal controls over financial reporting, look for material weaknesses or significant weaknesses. There weren't any. And then we look at compliance with laws, regulation, and grant agreements. Again, if there was any issues there, we'd let the board know. There was no issues. And that pretty much sums that report up. So any questions?
Questions from the board? Thank you for your time and efforts in this. And do we need, are we ready to move forward to accept the CDC audit? Entertain a motion for that.
Steve will move.
Okay. Second.
I'll second Sherry.
Okay. Any discussion? Why don't we go ahead and do a roll call to accept this resolution? Maria?
Okay, roll call vote to accept resolution 2021-02 to accept the fiscal year 20 audit. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran is absent. James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes, I approve.
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee is absent. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, our date of next meeting is to be determined. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this CDC meeting.
So move. Jim Ellis.
Steve seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so that takes us back into the IDA meeting. And I guess it's up to you, the auditors, if you want to stay on the meeting or not. I think we're finished for today so it's up to you.
We'll leave you to the meeting. We thank you for the opportunity to present the IDA and the
Yeah.
CDC.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay.
And thank you.
Thanks a lot for your work.
Thank you.
We don't do an audit of the LDC.
We do. They're still working on it. We'll get to that in our LDC meeting.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so back in the IDA meeting, we need a motion to approve the minutes from February 9th and 18th of 2021.
So move. Jim Ellis. Sleep this morning.
And Steve will second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, bills and communications, nothing. Jeremy,
Nope.
what about committee reports?
No, we don't have any committee reports either.
And you want to give us an update on the treasurer's report?
Sure. Not a lot to report that's unusual. I know I think we've already talked about that we've actually, well, it was last year. Time's going fast for me. I can't remember when we actually closed on the cleaning warehouse. And I think the one thing that I will point out is something that was referenced in the audit, which is that beginning this year, we're no longer receiving our Jericho Rise wind farm economic development payments that were scheduled over 5 years. So that you'll see that as a change compared to previous years as you look through our reports on income. But I think that's the only thing I've got today.
Right. We'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved, Steve.
I'll second. Madeline Fleury.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Old unfinished business, nothing. So that takes us into our new business. First of all, being resolution 2021-08 to accept the 2020 audit. We'll entertain a motion to bring that to the table.
I make a motion that we approve the 2020 audit.
Okay, for a second.
Steve will second.
Okay. So any other questions or discussions before we do the roll call vote? Go ahead, Maria.
Okay, this is resolution 2021-08 to accept fiscal year 20 audit. And we have Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran is absent, James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes, I approve.
Justice Martin,
Yes, I approve.
Archie McKee is absent. Motion carried. Thank you.
Very good. So that leads us to resolution 2021-09. The Tupper Lake Crossroads. We'll entertain a motion to bring this to the table.
So moved, Jim Ellis.
Second, Steve.
All right. Jeremy, would you please give us a description on this?
Sure thing. So just to recap what this project is, this is a proposed 44 unit or 44 room boutique hotel proposed for Park Street in Tupper Lake. We're all familiar with the location. The board adopted an initial resolution, which is always your first step in considering an IDA incentive project back in November. We subsequently held the required public hearing on January, I think it was on January 4th or 5th, which was well attended, mostly over broadcast, really well attended by the public. The transcript or minutes from that public hearing were included in the documents that have previously been shared with you. We also we kept the public comment period open through February 3rd, I believe, or a month later. We did receive probably about a half dozen emails or letters from folks during that time period, which has also been included in your packet. At that public hearing, we proposed the proposal on the table was a 20-year pilot term where the schedule of the abatement reduces by 5% each year, and starting at 100% and going to zero after 20 years. And one of the things that we noticed in that meeting was related to the starting value of the property when the agreement begins. And as was discussed, clarified then, and which would be part of the agreement if the board approves it, is that the base value for the property is what it is today, the assessed value today. If you recall, there were questions on whether or not the base value would be set at what it is today or at a much reduced value if the parcels are combined and the existing buildings are demolished. And just to confirm, the base value will be set at what it is today, which is $338,900. And so the proposal that was set forth in that public hearing is what is being considered by the board today. The next thing that we worked on was State Environmental Quality Review Act that we propose to be the lead agency. We have submitted requests to other potential lead agencies. None of those agencies wish to be the lead agency, and so part of the resolution today also makes a seeker negative declaration. So the resolution today is the second part of any approval process for the board. It's called Authorizing Resolution. You have it in your packet. It describes the project. It describes the anticipated benefits to the applicant, and again, as I mentioned, makes a determination as far as seeker, and then if approved, authorizes myself and our council to execute the different agreements and all the paperwork that goes along with doing a project like this. I think that's I don't know if I missed anything. I guess the board is welcome to ask any questions, but I think that's kind of an overview of where we've been and what the resolution is that's in front of you today for consideration.
Starting, excuse me, the starting value of the project at 338.9 means that there will be no lesser amount of tax paid, land taxes paid than is presently.
That is correct. That was a really good. It was about the biggest concern.
Yes.
That was noted in the public comment in the public hearing, and so that's good to clarify that that's the case. There would be no reduction.
Jeremy, on page 5 of the application, it says management of the company, list all owners, officers, members, directors, and partners. Nancy Howard used to be shown. She's no longer there. Has she been bought out? Is she no longer involved with this project?
No, she's still. I'm bringing that page up. She is still part of the project. I don't know what exact role she has, but she's still part of it. And that all gets. And sometimes these things change over the life of a project, so that's one of those due diligence things that is looked at before we execute all of the agreements.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to speak in favor of the resolution. There's no silver bullets, but I think this particular authorization will go a long way toward helping to develop the tourism infrastructure in Tupper Lake, which, by the way, will soon, hopefully, be blessed with a railroad hub in the west end of town, otherwise known as the Junction. Bringing those numbers in require us to be able to house these people that might be using the tour packages that will be developed by the railroad. and at the same time to give the museum, which is presently operating, give them a place also for people to come to Tupper Lake, visit the museum, the Wild Center in Tupper Lake, and also to remain in town instead of just coming here, getting a hotel room in neighboring community, and then leaving Tupper Lake after they've been through the museum. So I would recommend, in fact, I'm speaking in favor of the adoption of 2021-09.
Good. And Jeremy, it seems like, or not seems like, I thought at the public hearing, the involvement of the town was really important. The village was repped also. And I'm assuming that what was worked out here has the full support of both of the local boards, that they're on board with this.
I can't speak for, well, and don't forget about the school district also.
The school district also.
There's 4 taxing jurisdictions that are affected: the county, Tupper Lake Central School District, the town of Tupper Lake, and the village of Tupper Lake.
Yeah.
And we, as you've seen in your documentation, we've received letters from the town of Tupper Lake with their thoughts on the project, and at the time when it was received, the biggest request they had was for a shorter term.
Yeah.
We didn't receive any written comments from any of the other taxing jurisdictions.
Okay. So the town, I remember at the hearing, the town was most outspoken on it. And I thought their input was important.
I was trying to look for what the tax base was initially in light of if the properties would be drawn together. I mean, I was just.
It's about 10% of what it is shown. I don't have it in front of me. It's about
Yeah.
30 something thousand.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Any other questions concerning this resolution?
Yes, I just have one question. Was the term for the pilot, was that agreed to reduce it, or is it still at the 20-year?
It's what's before you is still the 20-year, based on my looking at the financials and the accommodation study and discussions back and forth with the developer at different types of options. This really does seem in this circumstance does seem to be the best approach to take.
Good.
All right, well, we have brought this to the table. Maria, could you lead us in a roll call vote?
Sure. This is to adopt Resolution 2021-09, Tupper Lake Crossroads Authorizing Resolution. Sherry Boye,
Yes, approved.
Michael Doran is absent. James Ellis,
Yes, approved enthusiastically.
Stephen Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes, I approve.
Justice Martin,
Yes, I approve.
Archie McKee is absent. The motion is carried. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, everyone. I want to let you know that Nancy Howard is still involved the same way she was from the beginning. So
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure I clarified that. And I
Okay.
appreciate all of your time and work on this, Jeremy.
Hey,
Thank you,
Jacob, Jacob, is that chairlift behind you? Is that Big Tupper?
It better be soon, I'm hoping.
Okay. Check with Dan McClellan.
Yeah, no, we're going to be helping out working on that.
Okay.
Board, thank you very much for that very positive vote. Tupper Lake will appreciate it, I'm sure.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, very well.
I'd
Okay,
just like
so
to also extend our thanks from the town of Tupper Lake. I didn't want to interrupt, but apparently you are allowing a little comments. Thank you very much. I know it was a lot of discussion, and we appreciate the input from all the local people who did participate in the hearing. And Jeremy, thank you very much for attending our meeting and giving us a thorough background on the process, and the result was quite well. I feel like everybody's satisfied with the outcome. So thank you all so much.
very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot. And yes, thank you, Jeremy, for all your effort with this and all the input from the board. Good job. Anybody else? All right, well, let's move on to resolution number 2021-10, the Bangor Solar. Let's have a first and a second to bring this to the table.
Steve Berman moves.
Jim Ellis, second.
Right. Go ahead, Jeremy, with the initial project resolution.
Okay, so we have before you 5 initial project resolutions. We can go through each one of them individually as you would like, but I thought I could just do a preface for all of them since there's it's kind of all the same process. Again, when we do projects like this, there's 3 major steps or points along that are most important for the board. Number 1 is an initial resolution. Number 2 is a public hearing, and then number 3, if it looks like there's an incentive project to approve, then number 3 is the authorizing resolution. We've been presented with 5 projects by Nexamp. Nexamp is a company that's actively developing solar installations all over the place. On the video with us today is Barton Pitts. He's a project manager for 3 of the 5 projects, but he can speak to all of them. You know, there may be specific things that you would like him to answer. He's willing to do so. So let me just point out one difference in how we're approaching these projects. So 3 of these projects that you have before you, Bangor, Burke, and Salmon River, have been proposed in towns that have solar development laws, which means the applicant, the company Nexamp, needs to apply for and get a permit or approval from each of the towns in order to go forward with the project. And Barton will correct me if I'm wrong. I know that in Burke, actually in Burke, that approval has been completed, that the town has approved the project, that the town went through the seeker review process and issued a negative declaration. And I don't know the exact status of Bangor and Salmon River, both in the town of Bangor, but it's kind of the same thing. Barton, is that actually completed or is that still underway?
Yeah, Bangor and Salmon River were completed months ago, so they're well ahead of the other 3. Burke, we just got approved this month for both the special use permit and the seeker negative declaration. And then,
okay.
Yeah.
So those 3 have had their municipal review and approval. There's two projects in Fort Covington on adjacent parcels of land. So you have to you're treating them as 2 separate projects. The town of Fort Covington does not have its own solar review law or zoning, and therefore there's no local review of the projects other than a building permit. And that's their prerogative. However, for a couple different reasons, we need to treat these a little bit differently in regards to the state environmental quality review process. So because the town of Fort Covington doesn't do its own review, we will need to do it as part of any approval that we do, just like we did on the Crossroads a minute ago. But also, seeker needs to be underway and a determination made for Nexamp to be able to apply for this to be a project that's subsidized or financed through the state's tax credit or rebate program, which maybe Barton, you can explain in more detail. So for those two reasons, one that's very beneficial to the company and one which is beneficial and required for us, we have already initiated the seeker process by reaching out to involved agencies and telling them that we propose to be the seeker lead agency, and are in the middle of waiting for any responses back saying, yes, we want to be a lead agency. So that's just one difference with those Fort Covington projects compared to the other three. But other than that, it's the same process of reviewing and approving initial resolutions. And just as a reminder, what the initial resolutions does is saying you accept the project as we have a real project, the application's complete. We want to initiate negotiation with the company to see what kind of incentive package will be developed. And you're authorizing myself, you're authorizing the chair of the board and our council to negotiate on behalf of the agency with the company for each of these. So that's the purpose of the initial resolution is, yeah, we accept this and we authorize moving forward on negotiation. Jeremy, Justice, Justin, Miller, go ahead and do all your work. See if you come up with a project, call for a public hearing, do all those things, and then report back. And if all goes well, we would report back with an authorizing resolution. I hope that gives a little bit of a lay of the land for all of these. Any questions on the overall lay of the land?
So these are pretty much all in the same place, except there's more steps that need to be taken with Fort Covington, but we can still go ahead with the project resolution at this
Right.
time.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Okay. Right. And so far, the engagement with Fort Covington has been positive. I mean, the project is, the town is in favor of the project, in other words?
I think Barton, could you speak to that?
Sure. So there, as Jeremy mentioned, there's no planning commission there to go through. So we were told by the town supervisor, just connect with the building. You know, essentially, they're just looking for us to make a building permit application that conforms to their building code, and that's our approval. That's really all that's necessary. It's sort of almost a ministerial approval that we get there. But as Jeremy pointed out, in order to get into the NYSERDA New York Sun program, we need on all these projects, we need two things: the seeker negative declaration on seeker, and then some special use permit. So we have those on the other three projects. For Fort Covington, there is no special use permit because the town doesn't do it, and NYSERDA understands that, so we don't need that for getting into the NYSERDA incentive block, but we do need seeker. And because there's no, we were told by our land use attorney, seeker needs to be done by an entity that's doing a vote. And there is no vote in Fort Covington. It's a ministerial function of approving a building permit. So they said, well, for the IDA, since the IDA is going to be voting on the pilot, we might as well have the IDA handle the seeker resolution as well. So that's kind of how we arrived at this spot. And Jeremy, if you want, I can give 2 minutes on just kind of what these projects are, if you want.
Sure. Yeah, I think that'd be good.
So I think,
Justice?
Yes.
yeah, and I'll make this brief because I know we're running long on time, but this is like the Oya project, I guess, that was done a year ago. These are, all 5 of these are community solar projects. They're limited to 5 megawatts each, which is about, 25 to 40 acres at the maximum. They're, by definition, community solar is connected to the grid at the distribution level. So these aren't the big projects that are multiple landowners and hundreds of acres that connect to transmission lines. These are usually just one landowner connected at a distribution line, and the electricity gets fed into the grid, and then we sell subscriptions to buy that energy at roughly 10%, at a 10% discount to what either National Grid or NYSEG are charging. So it's a good benefit for the community. Obviously, there's tax revenue that comes along with it, but all of this only works if we get into the NYSERDA New York Sun program. And just a little history on that. It was put in place a couple years ago to promote renewables, and they have this declining block structure where the first blocks of incentives were really lucrative, and over time they've been declining, and we're in the last block right now. So we've applied for Burke to get into that block. We expect to have that approval this week. Bangor and Salmon River are already in, so we're good there. The last 2 Fort Covingtons, we're hoping to get through seeker, get them applied into the New York Sun program. But we know we're right on the edge. That whole program is probably going to run out of funds by middle to the end of April. So that's why we're trying to push these along quickly. And I think with that, I'll just cut it off there. I know if you have questions, just feel free.
I've got one quick question. You mentioned the distinction between projects that hook into distribution lines and those that hook into transmission lines. What are the projects that hook into transmission lines? What are they called?
We call those utility scale projects.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and they're just selling power into the grid at the wholesale price.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Are there incentives available for those projects too? Do you know, or is that?
Yeah, we're not in that part of the market. We're looking at it, but we are a community solar developer. That's what we've, back in Massachusetts, that's it's 98% of our business. It's what we're good at. So,
good.
But, and I think the state of New York is putting together a renewable energy credit auction program. They've got one in place now for those big projects, and they've just revised it. I don't have all the details, but I know there's some new incentives coming there.
Good. Thanks very much.
Yep.
And so in the resolutions for Fort Covington, is the seeker approval language added into the resolution, or is that a separate resolution?
No, it's not approval. It's just authorizing. It's saying that we do say we will be lead agency.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in section 4 of those 2.
Okay. All right.
I just have a quick question. What is seeker?
The State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Okay,
And it's so it's a state law and process for making sure that any action that could impact the environment is that whoever is in charge of taking that action takes a hard look at how that action will or could impact the environment. And the IDA as a public authority, when we approve financial benefits, our decisions are also subject to seeker.
thank you.
All right, very good. So we have resolution number 10 on the table. Why don't we go ahead and do the roll call vote on that one, and then possibly we can lump the others together since we've pretty much covered them.
I could amend my original motion to include all of those now,
Okay,
which I will do.
go ahead.
I'd like to amend my original motion to include the numbers 2021-10 through 2021-14.
Okay,
Can we do that, or do they have to be individual because it's all roll call votes?
Got it. Okay. I withdraw my my amended motion. Go
Just
ahead,
trying to
Jeff.
follow protocol, and I'm not sure if that's the right answer.
No, that's fine.
let's go ahead. Let's go ahead with 10 as originally motioned. And go ahead with the roll call, Maria.
Okay, this is for resolution 2021-10. Bangor Solar LLC initial project resolution. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran is absent. James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes, I approve.
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee is absent. Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and do the roll call vote on each of them?
Can we have somebody bring them to the table, or do you just want to do Steve and Jim bring all of them to the table in a separate roll call vote?
That works for me if it works for Steve and Jim.
Yeah, 2021 through 2014 lumped, grouped together with separate roll call votes for each.
Okay. Okay,
You
so
ready
this
for the-
one,
I'll second that.
That's my motion.
Okay.
Steve, sorry.
2021-11 Burke Solar LLC initial project resolution. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran is absent. James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes, I approve.
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee is absent. Motion carried. Next one. Resolution 2021-12 Covington Solar 1 LLC initial project resolution. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran is absent. James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
Yes,
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee is absent. Okay, resolution 2021-13 Covington Solar 2 LLC initial project resolution. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran is absent. James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
yes,
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee is absent. Motion carried. Resolution 2021-14 Salmon River Renewables LLC initial project resolution. Sherry Boye,
Yes.
Michael Doran is absent. James Ellis,
Yes.
Stephen Ehrman,
Yes.
Madeline Fleury,
yes,
Justice Martin,
Yes.
Archie McKee is absent. Resolution adopted. Thank you.
Good.
Very good. Good work. Thank you. And thank you, Barton, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for the approval.
Absolutely. Look forward to being in touch.
Our next step will be me requesting the board meet in the coming weeks to actually consider a resolution issuing a negative declaration for a seeker for the 2 Fort Covington projects. That'll be, if with your consent, we'll be kind of disconnecting that from the authorizing resolutions in order to allow NextAmp to then go ahead and get those submitted to New York Sun.
Right. Very good. All right. The date of next meeting is April 13, 2021. And we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move. Jim Ellis.
Steve will second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we'll call to order the Franklin County Local
Thanks.
Development.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I notice on new business on the LDC that we have resolution 2021-13. And it appears that we already did that as the Covington Solar 2. Do we renumber that or am I mistaken?
That's LDC.
Yeah, I know, well, okay. But in other words, the resolution, the numbers aren't contained in all 3. They're all
Oh, they're
separate.
separate, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
That was my question. Very good.
However, I do think the point of order is well recognized because we will not be considering a resolution today to accept the LDC audit. So you may want to, and we forgot to do this with the IDA. We said we were going to institute this, right? Is accept the agendas.
Yes.
Well, it's right here. So you may want to amend the agenda to not include 2021-13 before you accept the agenda.
Right.
I would recommend to the chairman and other members of the LDC that we adopt, that we change the agenda or add to the agenda and remove resolution 2020-13 for today's meeting.
Okay. All right.
Are you gonna do a motion for that? Because the other 2 meetings you guys did motions. I can take
Okay,
Jim's
so moved.
motion. Can we get a second?
I moved.
I'll second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, as far as the roll call, I know we've had people leaving the meeting. Maria, should you do the roll call again for LDC?
Sure, let's do it. Sherry Boye,
Present.
Michael Doran, absent. James Ellis,
Present.
Stephen Ehrman,
Present.
Madeline Fleury,
Here.
Justice Martin,
Present.
Archie McKee is absent. We still have Maria Bourgeois, Jeremy Evans, and Russ Kenyon. Jacob Wright, Pam Halloran, Dan McClellan, Barton Pitts, Patty Littlefield, and Michael Crowley have left the meeting at this time.
Very good. All right, so we have already accepted the amended agenda. And are there any public comments? So we can entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 9th and February 18th.
Good. I'm looking for them. We'll get it moving. Steve will make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second, Jim Ellis.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay, bills and communications.
We have none.
Any committee reports today?
No.
And that leads us to the treasurer's report.
As is our new tradition, we will talk about the, just kind of our financials, and then Russ can provide a quick update on the loan program. As you can tell by the agenda, we were trying to keep things simple for today's agenda because we had the audits and the all of those IDA projects. Just to note, really the only thing there's two things I wanted to mention. We received another payment, a quarterly payment from the county for occupancy tax. That's not reflected on here, but it just came in. So we are receiving those payments, and you'll see those on a quarterly basis show up in our financials. The auditors are still working on the LDC audit. And as you know, we need audits completed in time to take the financial information and add them into the annual reports that we are required to submit by March 31. Just because of the growth and size of the LDC financials over the last couple of years, it's just taking them a little bit longer to get that finalized. So speaking this morning, that's why we're with Pam. That's why we're not talking about the audit right now as we had originally planned. So that being said, I need to request that we find a time to meet in the next few days for the sole purpose of reviewing the LDC audit and hopefully accepting it. There's really not a lot of options. I think next Wednesday is the 31st, and Maria and I need a couple days in order to make sure information gets transferred and that we're good with the reports. I asked Pam if Thursday at 10 would work for her. She said yes. I wanted to throw that out as a potential time for a 30-minute meeting to review the LDC audit with her.
That works for me. Steve?
Jim Ellis, okay.
At this time, for Sherry, yes.
Okay,
Works
so
for me as well.
we'll schedule that, and appreciate your accommodation in that regard.
Madeline, does that work for you?
What time was that again?
10 o'clock for 30 minutes on Thursday, March 25th.
What time?
10.
10 o'clock. Yes, if it's just a half an hour, I can't. I might have to leave early. I do have something at 11.
Okay, well, this will be the only purpose.
Okay.
All right, so Russ is going to give us a report on the loans connected with the treasurer's report.
Yep.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So I just want to give you, oh, excuse me. Someone say something?
No, I just said good morning.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to give you a quick update on the loan program. I sent out recently some statistics on our loan history that I thought were interesting, and I hope that you received those and enjoyed that. We can talk more about that next month when we have a little more space on the agenda. I'd like to get into a little bit more about some of those statistics. But currently, I'm continuing to work with Matt, our counsel, and our applicants for finalizing documentation needed for closings for the 3 that we recently approved. But they're all steadily moving forward. There haven't been any unnecessary delays. We keep plugging away at that and hope to get those closed soon. There's 2 additional applications that I'm currently working on, but we need appraisals to move forward with those. So the applicants are working on getting those appraisals done at this point, but those are probably 4 weeks out based upon the availability of appraisers at this point. So we'll be waiting on those for a little bit. I'm also continuing to work on developing our loan tracking and loan history system and tools that we have so we can readily access information at any time about where our loans are from month to month and what the history of those loans and performance has been over time, so that we can have that information when needed for reporting, but also for communicating about our loan program and marketing our loan program. I think that data will be helpful. I just want to thank Maria, who has been very helpful in researching the history and being available even during the audit to help me make those figures as accurate as we can. In addition, they were very helpful recently as Maria was doing the reporting for the LDC annual report, for the audit, for parish reporting. So I've been helping Maria by providing that loan data, which is now at our fingertips immediately. So that's been very helpful in that process. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to address them.
I'd like to tell you how pleased I am to see the activity, Russ, that's going on in our loan program. It's just so great to be able to see and feel that there's something going on in all of Franklin County that we've had something to do with. So thank you, and thanks, Maria, for all of the good hard work you do. Appreciate it.
Yeah, agreed.
Very good.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks, Russ.
All right. So I entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Steve, I'll move.
Sherry, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, treasurer's report is accepted. So that takes us to potential executive session.
So we have, I would ask for executive session for matters related to employment history, employee history, and I don't know, I can't remember the other one, contractual
Obligation.
It's
Matters.
contractual. Let me just to be clear on this, I want to get it right. Hold on. Go to my trusty cheat sheet for executive sessions. So that's the medical, financial credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation. And then the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property. Those are the two purposes.
Very good. So we'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved, Jim Ellis.
A second.
Second, Madeline Fleury.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we are in executive session.
I'd like to move the fact that we extend the unpaid leave for Marcy Gottsmer to April 16 of this year.
I would
We have a
second
second?
that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay. Our date of next meeting is, well, April 13th, although we have the special meeting, March, is that gonna be the 25th?
Just so you know, I will not be, I just looked at my calendar. I have a manager meeting on the 13th, Tuesday from 9 to noon. So I will not be in attendance of that meeting.
You're going down for spring break in Miami, don't tell me.
Oh my God, I wish. That would be awesome.
Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Jim,
Thank
second.
you.
And
Thanks,
the-
everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Justice, the special meeting is the 25th.